Alright, hello, guys, gals, non-binary pals. We got a special package today in the mail. Finally, my favorite shooter of all time, Radiant Silvergun, recently...
Emotional damage!
Not so recently, long time ago, got a limited run version. And obviously, if you know limited run games, I mean, it could be 8 months to over a year before you actually get the physical item in your hand. But when something comes along that you have to have, then you just got to do it. Like Radiant Silvergun. Yes, the physical release of Radiant Silvergun. It's been available digitally for a long time now, but there was a physical edition announced by Limited Run Games, and this is the Super Deluxe Edition. So we're going to do an unboxing today. I sort of forget what's inside since I pre-ordered this so long ago, but it's finally here. We're going to do an unboxing today. So let's check out what's in the package, and we'll play a little bit of the Switch version. So yes, you definitely read that right. This was up for pre-order November 2022. And I just got it as of February 7th, 2024. That's how limited run works, but what can you do? So obviously this is, a big package. This is the outside box with the cool black logo with the ship on it, Radiant Silvergun, and the Japanese limited run, obviously. And it's a huge box too, and it's kind of weird because there's not that much stuff to fill up the box. So here's a look at the back, and the back is the same from the outer box as well as the inner box, which we'll see a few times in this unboxing. But I do think the box design is very sleek. It's very minimalistic. It looks pretty good. It's got a list of everything it includes on there. It's, 2-player. You could play with the Joy-Cons. This is the Switch version, obviously, if I hadn't said that before. It's 164 in the limited run series. So let's open it up. And I'm definitely not one of those people like buys games to keep them sealed. I don't necessarily understand that. So I buy them to play them and enjoy them. So, opening up for me. So obviously when you open the box, the first thing that pops out, the thing that I love the most is probably, the Sega Saturn case, the replica Sega Saturn case for the game. And Limited Run is kind of on shaky ground with me because I actually got the Panzer Dragoon remake with the Sega Saturn case in it, and right out of the box the case was cracked. It was broken, and I never contacted them for a replacement or anything. But good thing this case is not cracked. This case is in pristine condition. As you can see, it's got the spine label on it. It's got a very cool cover on the front, which I didn't talk about. It looks just like the old Saturn game when you open it up. It's got a disc spot that you don't really need. It's got a spot to put the game case too. And the pamphlet at the front is not an instruction manual. All it is just a picture. So it'd be cooler if it was maybe an instruction manual of some sort. But you got to be praying. And then the next thing is the chiptune arrangement soundtrack. The original soundtrack, which is one of my favorite soundtracks of all time, period. End of story. Shooters, anything, not just shooters, but any type of game anywhere. The soundtrack is so amazing. And for the new Arrange soundtrack in this one, they actually chose a chiptune style, which I'll compare the two a little bit later. And the cover's got that old school sort of like pixelated look to it, which looks pretty unique. I haven't opened this yet. And as you can see on the back, it's got the chiptune arrangement and what it calls the soundtrack on the other side. And then this is the double case for the game. So the game is in here in a normal Switch case, but also the Steelbook is in there too. So that's an empty Steelbook, as the purple one. The red one is obviously the normal, Switch game. The back has all the information that the other backs have. I actually really like this slipcase. I think the art on the front is pretty amazing. Obviously, it's got the logos on all the sides. I do think that art is pretty amazing. And opening it up, obviously, like I said, it's got the, the Steelbook case. I'm not a big fan of Steelbook cases necessarily. They're super easy to like scratch up and everything, but it looks very nice. It looks very nice. The styling on it. I love the back of it. Warning, no refuge. I love it. I love it. I love it. No refuge and beatitude for gains were two of my, top sayings when I was a teenager. No one would know what game I was talking about, but that's it. And then when you do open up the Steelbook, it's completely empty. Which, understandable. It's just a replacement case. So, that's why I don't really collect Steelbooks. Don't really understand them. Why would you want another case just sitting there? But, it is what it is. So, actual, the Radiant Silvergun cartridge itself right here with the new cover. I actually really dig the new cover for sure. There is a reversible cover inside, which we'll see in a second as soon as I rip the plastic off of here, but the same back as everything else. And then when you get it open, you have your instruction manual, you have the reversible cover, obviously the cartridge right there. And the reversible cover is the original Sega Saturn cover. So you could either go with the newfangled hotness or Saturn original, which I do have here. I do have a copy of it. I did get it way back in the day. It was one of my prized possessions growing up because, you know, again, favorite shooter of all time. So this is just a peek at the original Saturn version, which was stuck on the Saturn, and it was stuck in Japan too. It never came to America, right? So it's good that it's, you know, released digitally nowadays, and there's a physical edition. More people can play it. And then the instruction manual, quote unquote, that it comes with was pretty underwhelming. It's only 4 pages. It was definitely, I don't know. I didn't know what to expect. You'll see when I turn over to the last page. I expected another page and it just wasn't there. And I was just like, oh, that's it? So it's 4 pages. You know, I don't know. I kept this cover on the new cover. And this is our first sort of tchotchke in there. So the B Attitude for Gains keychain, which again, this was my forum signature in the early days of the internet when I was in my late teens. That was my, you know, forum signature, okay? B Attitude for Gains. Doesn't make sense, but I love it. And it also comes with pins for the dogs. And if you haven't played Radiant Silvergun, there's hidden dogs around each levels. And if you shoot them with a certain weapon, you know, they pop up. You get points. And they're different colors too, because Radiant Silvergun's got a cool color chain system in it to, you know, if that's your thing, if you want a super big challenge. And, you know, the different dogs are different colors, right? So they can be chained into the color chains and all that sort of stuff. So these pins are definitely super cute. I don't know if I'm ever going to take them out of there, but, you know, they're super cute. And then this last piece right here is the shadow box, I think is what they're called. And you'll see me assemble it here a little bit. And anyways, I'll leave it to the end. I made a mistake here, but I'll point it out when I find it. So the shadow box is pretty cool. It's definitely pretty small. Maybe I was hoping it would be a little bit bigger, but, you know, it assembles pretty easy. It's just, you know, you're just popping things in pegs and stuff, and you can see from this footage that it is taking me, you know, a little effort to get it in there, and that's because I didn't notice something, which I'll talk about in a second once I notice it. But this is the last boss of Radiant Silvergun. If you've never played it, it's a pretty amazing, creative last boss right here. And this is it basically, you know, put together. Everything, like I said, took a little too much force to put in there, and I was kind of confused at first. And it was like, man, this is really dull. And then, oh, what is this? Oh, like all acrylic things. It has a freaking film on it. Duh, you bonehead. So that's me. That was me realizing my mistake. And then this is back. I peeled everything off, got it back together, and this is what it looks like. It definitely looks better because it's got that nice sheen on it and everything. And this is definitely my favorite thing in the set for sure. Like, I think this looks pretty awesome. My only wish would maybe be a little bit bigger, more of a showpiece, you know what I mean? Because this game was this version was $125, and, you know, I don't know 100% necessarily if it was worth that much with what you get, but, you know, it is what it is. I had to have a physical version, and my favorite shooter of all time, so I had to get the big one. So that is the shadow box. And overall, I love the package for sure. I wish it came a little bit sooner. I wish it was a little bit cheaper. I don't think, you know, the instructions and, you know, the Saturn case missing instructions was, you know, the best choice in the world. Like, I wish you got more for your money, but that's I don't know. There's definitely a difference between limited run when it first started and limited run nowadays. You definitely get less for your money nowadays, for sure. But I'm glad I have this. So going to the gameplay, obviously, you know, this is the game booting up right here. Treasure, Livewire, Treasure, my favorite company of all time. So we're going to go through some basic options and just show off some gameplay, compare it to the original and everything. We'll even compare the soundtracks too. So obviously when you boot it up, you get way more options than the original Saturn had. here. How to play, controls, settings, you know, you can watch the credits and all that sort of stuff. So the settings were the big thing I wanted to look at here, because the display size, you can change the display size. And the big things are the filters, right? And that's what I guess we're going to talk about, because I have thoughts on filters. If you know me, which you might not know me, I really don't like blurry 2D graphics. So I don't like upscaled 2D graphics. I like pixels. I like to see pixels. As you can see, there's wallpaper here too, which I don't necessarily like either. I don't like borders around the stuff I'm playing. And sort of the way to get around that on this, if you're like me and don't like that too, is to turn the wallpaper brightness just down to 0. Just down to 0, and then you'll have just the black sides, which is, you know, the way I liked it. And you can also edit the HUD if you want to, because the HUD is completely different. Obviously in the original Saturn version, everything was on screen, but on this they're over to the sides a little bit. So you could actually move them over to the sides so they don't cover up the screen whatsoever if you do the settings right. Obviously, you know, it's 1 or 2 player. When you go to the story mode, you get different options too. Normal play, score attack, training, replay, starting options. Obviously, you can choose your difficulty, chain mode, and background music. So we're going to go with normal for this initial playthrough. And if you notice right away, if you played the original, you notice how sharp these graphics are, because we kept the high-res mode on, and transparencies on in the option menu. So this is just an example of sort of what it looks like, those things. So and maybe you'll notice too that the high-res mode actually, you can't notice it here yet, but the high-res mode really just blurs and not just blurs, but sharpens the 2D sprites, because the game uses 2D sprites and it uses 3D assets also. And the 3D assets look about the same. The 2D sprites are what it sort of up-reses, and we'll see a comparison shot right here. So this is a comparison with the Switch on the left and the original Sega Saturn on the right. And if you look at the polygons look about the same. The textures are obviously a little bit sharper, but you can definitely tell on this boss especially, the 2D assets are really blurry in the high-res mode, to my eyes. They are sharp too, but they're blurry compared to the sharpness of the Sega Saturn original, in my opinion. And you can definitely tell the difference in the transparencies too. The explosion and the boss shooting that fireball, you could tell the original Saturn had the mesh transparencies, which you can turn on here. It is one of the options in the menu if you want to turn those on. And so, you know, this is me messing with a couple of the settings, right? So that was high res plus effect and alpha. So again, on the translucency, you could turn on those meshes if you don't like transparencies. I like this setting, the setting that I have on right now. This is the original low-res Saturn look, but with transparencies instead of meshes. And that's what I settled on personally. So this is an example of that with the, you know, the same intro scene. So you can definitely tell the difference. I could tell the difference right away with the 2D sprites, weapon effects and everything. The difference is huge, 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 but in the polygons, it's not that huge. Here's another example of the low-res graphics, which again mirror the Saturn original. This looks just like the Saturn original, just obviously the screen overlay is different. And obviously the information. And I do like the information over on the sides. Alright, and this is an example of low-res 2 with mesh transparencies. So you'll see it's a little sharper than low-res 1, and you can see the mesh transparencies are back. Like these fireballs in the old video were transparent, now they're mesh. This is the high-res graphics again right here. Excuse my bad gameplay too. I haven't played this game in forever, okay? So cut me some slack. And then the display size too. This is sort of just an example of moving your display size down to get the, you know, the weapon overlays and stuff over on the side of the screen. There's another comparison shot. And this is both low-res, so it's comparing the low-res graphics. So that's a low-res Switch, and this is the Sega Saturn original right here. And it definitely looks pretty much the same. The Saturn looks to be a little darker to me, but you can definitely tell a difference in the transparencies. And then again, it does have an arranged soundtrack in the game, so for the next section we'll check out the arranged soundtrack. So the arranged soundtrack is a chiptune soundtrack, which is a little jarring in the difference at first, but anyways, we'll listen to it for a second and I'll blab over it.
西暦2521年7月13日あれから1年が経とうとしている船のエネルギー食料が底をつき始めたため我々はいやおうなしに地上へ降りなければならなくなっていたこの宇宙巡洋艦テトラが新型戦闘機3機を搭載しているとはいえ今回の帰還が大きな賭けであることに違いはない正面からの戦闘はできる限り避けねばならぬのだが
So I hope you could tell the difference from that clip. I alternated them a couple times just so you could hear the difference a little bit. And like I was gonna say before, the chiptune soundtrack is definitely way different than I was expecting. It's definitely jarring a little bit in the difference, but that doesn't mean I don't like it. Like the original soundtrack is one of the GOATs, greatest of all time. So how can you do that different without, you know, sounding disappointing? So, you know, the range soundtrack is not my favorite. It's not my favorite, but it's because the original soundtrack is the best of all time. Like, how can you improve on one of the best of all time? You know what I mean? But it's definitely, you know, different enough to be fun and be cool and be refreshingly new at the same time. And if you've never played it before, Radiant Silvergun, yes, has the color combo system in it. So there's blue enemies, yellow enemies, red enemies, and you can chain attacks together. And the game definitely demonstrates it way better than I could. This is the game playing itself, but it's actually, if you watch what it's doing, it's one of the reasons this game is so freaking amazing. You could play it like in a bunch of different ways, and like the computer right here is getting a red chain. So you notice they're only killing the red enemies, and look at their point total right there. It's not just about flying around and blowing everything up, you know what I mean? There's different ways to play it, and the chain system is definitely super cool. The cinemas look way, way better. They're so high res, they're so good. So good. The animation and everything, the colors really pop. It's sharp. The cinemas definitely are a huge, huge improvement over the, you know, pixelated Sega Saturn originals, obviously. I don't know, and that's it. That's it. Everything in Radiant Silvergun, the limited run collector's edition Switch version. It is my favorite shooter of all time. I'm definitely glad to have it. I'm glad it's here. I don't know why it took a year and a half to get to me. Like, I wish there was a better system for that. But it's here. I have it. Physical edition. I'll have it forever. They can never, you know, delist it and I lose it or anything like that. So, guys, gals, non-binary pals, thanks for checking out the Switch version of the Limited Run Collector's Edition with me. If you want to see more, then make sure you like and comment so this video goes out to more people. There's definitely some cool stuff in the package, and it's the best shooter of all time. So I can't complain too much. So thank you for watching.